Well, I said it jokingly a few weeks ago, but I basically got mad. I saw that it was time to make a difference. I drove by one too many dilapidated homes, one too many burned down homes, driving up Roebuck Parkway, Crestwood Boulevard, seeing all the abandoned buildings. For me, that was an issue. Talking to residents in Crestline, knowing that they had concerns, but they hadn't been receiving the representation that they needed or deserved. For me, that was an issue. So what better way to make a change than to actually be a part of that? So I see this as a movement, as an opportunity to inspire other people to get involved in local government and make the difference and see the change that we want to see so that we can move forward as a district and ultimately move forward as a city. So I've lived in Birmingham my entire life. Went to Banks Middle School, Ramsey High School, Miles College. So I've been involved in community outreach, as young as I could remember. My father was a pastor, so I saw firsthand what it meant to serve. And for me, regardless of where you live, especially in District 2, so whether you live in Southeast Lake, Roebuck Springs, Crestline, Overton, it's important that you know that you're receiving the same representation. And I share that because you have, some areas that are better than others. However, as an advocate, as a voice, as a counselor, I want to be sure that I'm working so that the quality of life is being improved regardless of your background, regardless of your ethnicity. So I attend the Rock City Church where Pastor Mike McClure Jr. is my pastor. You always have to kind of follow up with who's, your man of God. But I serve there regularly. So I'm a part of our Rock TV News. Anytime we have events or programs going on, I'm always in those meetings. I lead a city group called Girlfriends. So I'm very involved. And to me, that's what impact is about, being able to serve at any level. And of course, we learned that from one of the greatest servants, who is Jesus. I would say poverty. We have a lot, and before I go into some of the things that we can see as challenges or issues, we definitely have to talk about the great things that are going on, how awesome Birmingham is. It's so diverse, especially District 2. We've definitely seen progress over the past several years. However, when we talk about some of our issues such as crime, we have to talk about poverty and how many people, live underneath that poverty line, and how as a counselor, I definitely want to be able to implement different programs by building meaningful and impactful relationships with community partners so that our residents and constituents are receiving the resources that they need so that they can ultimately live a better life. I believe that communication is key in any relationship. So definitely having those open lines of communication along with transparency, that's super important so that we're now holding each other accountable. Well, my personal mantra is city before self. And with that being said, a lot of times you have people that have been in office for a number of years and now it's all about personal agenda or how it's going to impact one small group of people. But as a counselor, I realize that you have to look at all aspects. How not only will this affect, the people that may be against it, but how would this affect everybody, your entire district, and also taking a holistic approach, because what happens in District 2 ultimately impacts District 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, and 9. So really being able to look at things on a larger scale versus just catering to one particular group of people. We have to take a holistic approach. One of my greatest virtues, I would say, is perseverance. Um, in life, we all know that we're going to face challenges and face obstacles, and even being in leadership. But I think that's what really defines a great leader. How do you work through those challenges? How do you work through those obstacles? In my entire life, I've had, some different things to overcome. Even being young, I was in management when I was at Summit Media, and, having to just work through all of those different things that comes with being young and overseeing all types of people. And I've been told no, but you shouldn't stop at no. No is only the beginning to a negotiation. So really being able to work through those challenges, work through those obstacles, not allowing fear, doubt, the opinions of others to deter me from what I know God has called me to do. So when you think about wants versus needs, you really have to define what the two mean. And in regards to a need, it's something that is essential to your survival. So I think it's important to really assess the situation, assess what's being proposed, and really make a decision regarding, is this something that is essential to our survival, or is this just something that we want to do, something that looks good? And ultimately, I think that's going to be important, that we have somebody over the next 4 years that will be able to make those hard decisions, especially when you talk about funding, how somebody may want to have an event. However, we need to place funding in public safety. We need to place funding in our parks and rec. And so really identifying, what it means, and assessing the situation, and just making a hard decision from there. I would say what distinguishes me from the other candidates is that I'm fearless. My entire life, I have stepped out on faith. Even with making the decision to run for city council, I can't tell you how many people said, outside of people saying, yeah, go for it, I had a number of people said, not right now, no, you should wait, you're too young, you should give it a few years. But just going back to those virtues and speaking to the point of perseverance, when you know that God has called you to do something, you have to go. And even with launching the campaign, the day we made the announcement, I mentioned in my quote unquote speech, I talked about Joshua 1 and 9 and how God spoke to Joshua and told him to go. Don't be discouraged. Don't be full of fear. Know that I will go with you wherever you go. So with that being said, the fact that I am fearless, knowing that God will be with me wherever I go, is ultimately how I got to this seat, and ultimately how I will make a change as the next city council person for District 2, allowing God to lead me in every decision, every choice. And even with talking about God, you have people that say faith and politics don't mix. We don't only need good government, we need God government. We can't forget that G-O-D, because it's important. It's important to have people that care, and it's important to have people that will go against the grain, and be willing to fight against all odds, and be fearless.